Hi Tigers, Ramadan Mubarak. So Thursday, April 23rd is the start of Ramadan. Now Ramadan is a very important holiday celebrated by Muslims around the world. It is a sacred month in the religion of Islam, and hundreds and millions of people around the world celebrate from April 23rd all the way to May 23rd. And during this month of Ramadan, people who are old enough will fast. That means they refrain from eating and drinking all the way from sunrise to sunset. That means they don't eat and drink anything all day long. And then they'll feast at sunset. And in the morning when they wake up, they have a big feast at sunrise, and then they fast again. And this goes on all month long from April 23rd to May 23rd. It's not just about meals, though. This is a time where people who celebrate Ramadan, they focus on their faith, they focus on their family, they focus on generous acts. So in normal circumstances, if we weren't all staying at home, you'd probably see people who celebrate Ramadan volunteering in their community. Because we are not able to go out, I bet they are probably giving money to different charities. They're probably helping out their friends and neighbors. They're checking in on their family and friends and neighbors and really connecting. This is one of the most important celebrations in the Muslim faith. So today I have a story for you. It's about a little girl. Her name is Laila, and she is old enough now to celebrate Ramadan, where she gets to fast and feast. And she's very, very excited and honored that she gets to celebrate Ramadan as her parents and her older siblings do. However, she's a little worried because she doesn't know how her classmates and friends at school will feel or think about her not eating lunch with them at school. So I hope you enjoy this story. It's called Laila's Lunchbox, a Ramadan story. Now, Reem Faruqi is the author of this story, and this actually mirrors her experience when she was a little girl. "We won't be needing this for a while," said Laila's mother, hanging up Laila's lunchbox. "Imagine! I won't be eating lunch for a month," replied Laila with a twirl. "I won't have to pack lunch for a month," said her mom with a bigger twirl. I wonder why Mom is so excited about not packing Laila's lunch. Well, if you're a mom, you know that packing lunches every day can sometimes get a little bit much. The year before, Laila had wanted to fast with her best friend Hind and Ishrat during Ramadan, but Laila's mom had insisted she was too small. Remembering that, Laila stopped twirling. She missed her friends. Moving from one continent to another had been hard. On the map in her atlas, North America and the Middle East were 10 inches apart, but in real life, she was so much farther away. She wished she was only 10 inches away from Hind and Ishrat. She knew the sign by the highway said, "Peachtree City, you'll love to call it home." But she didn't agree about the sign. Abu Dhabi still felt like her home. This is interesting. So the author doesn't say exactly what happened here, but it seems that Laila moved from Abu Dhabi, which if you look again on the map, you can see where Abu Dhabi is, all the way to, looks like Georgia. That's a big move. The next morning, before sunrise, Laila's mom gently nudged her. "Laila," she whispered, "Sehri time." Laila chomped on her chocolate chip pancakes with her eyes closed. "Delicious," she said. "Come, let's "Let's pray now," said her mom. After Sehri, Laila snuggled back into her bed until her mom woke her up again, this time for school. As she left the house, her mom handed her a note. "Laila, please give this note to Mrs. Penworth." Without her lunchbox to carry, her fingers felt extra free and swingy. She felt so light, she skipped to the school bus stop. Readers, how do you think Laila is feeling right now? The author did such a great job of showing us, but not telling us. Her fingers felt extra free and swingy. She felt so light she skipped to the school bus stop. And look at her face. The illustration says it all too. On the school bus, she read her mom's note. "Dear Mrs. Penworth, this will be Laila's first time fasting for the month of Ramadan, so it is an exciting time for us. Please excuse Laila from lunch for this special month. Thanks, Mrs. Malik." Laila didn't feel so bouncy anymore. What if Mrs. Penworth didn't know about Ramadan? No one else would be fasting with her. She folded the note into a teeny tiny square and hid it in her book bag. Here she is on the bus, hiding that note that her mom wrote to her teacher. Oh, and here's the letter. I love when illustrators do this. Sorry, the words are backwards, but I love that the note was included in the illustration. Laila walked slowly to her class. Her throat felt dry all morning. When lunchtime arrived, she still hadn't given Mrs. Penworth her note. "Laila, did you forget your lunch?" asked Mrs. Penworth. Laila opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Samantha volunteered. "I'll share my lunch with Laila." Mrs. Penworth shook her head. "Thank you for the offer, Samantha, but Laila, please get a sandwich from the cafeteria." Laila followed her classmates to the cafeteria. "Laila, do you want some of my cream roll?" asked Anna. Laila thought of telling Anna that she was fasting, but she didn't think anyone at Sunnyvale Elementary School would know about Ramadan. "No, thanks," she started to say. "I didn't bring my—" "Are you sure?" asked Anna, unwrapping the cream rolls. Laila watched the cream roll get smaller and smaller, and she didn't feel so sure. Cream rolls were her favorite. She looked away. Her nose still smelled food. Laila wished she had given Mrs. Penworth the note. Even Isaiah's bologna sandwich looked tasty, and Laila didn't even like bologna. Her stomach rumbled. Suddenly, she had an idea. While everyone was busy eating, she sneaked out of the cafeteria. Her stomach stopped growling. Yeah, I would have a really hard time sitting with my friends who are eating lunch when I wasn't eating lunch, especially if I were hungry too and my tummy was growling. "Why, Laila, it's a pleasure to see you, but what brings you here at lunchtime?" asked Mrs. Carmen, the librarian. Laila felt safe among all the books. She opened her mouth, and this time her words tumbled out. Laila told Mrs. Carmen that Mrs. Penworth and her classmates didn't know she was fasting. She told her how she missed Hind and Ishrat. It felt good to tell someone all the words that had been inside her mind all morning, and especially to tell her about Ramadan. Mrs. Carmen understood. "You must feel special to fast this Ramadan," said the librarian with a smile. So Mrs. Carmen knows what an honor it is for Laila to be fasting like her family. "I do," said Laila, "but why is it so hard to explain?" "You know what I always do when I can't get my thoughts out, or when I get shy about talking?" asked Mrs. Carmen. "I I write my thoughts down. Laila got to work. She wrote neatly, adding extra loops to her capital L. She worked so hard, her cheeks turned pink. Dear Mrs. Penworth, I didn't forget my lunchbox today. It's Ramadan. My mom finally let me fast. This means I won't be eating lunch for a month. Sincerely, Laila. P.S. I'm Muslim. P.P.S. My mom wrote a note too. Here it is. P.P.P.S. Here's a poem I wrote about Ramadan. Ramadan is a month Muslims celebrate, a time to count our blessings and appreciate. Muslims fast before sunrise to sunset. But wait, that's not all just yet. Ramadan is a time for lots of prayer. We help the poor people to show we care. So in the day, I won't be eating any food, but hopefully we'll stay in a good mood. Laila hurried back to the cafeteria to join her class. Before school was out, she quickly dropped both notes onto Mrs. Penworth's desk. And there's Laila writing her note and her poem. Do you ever do that when you're too shy to say something? Write out your feelings? Works for me. The next morning, Laila swung her fingers as she waited for the school bus. Would Mrs. Penworth like her poem? Laila hoped Mrs. Penworth wouldn't think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. She slowly climbed each step on the bus. In class, Mrs. Penworth didn't say anything, so Laila wondered what had happened. At times like this, she wished Hend and Ishrat were here with her. They would know what to say. At lunchtime, Laila's feet felt heavy. She was sure Mrs. Penworth hadn't seen the notes. Everyone would think she had forgotten her lunchbox again. As she was leaving class, Mrs. Penworth patted Laila on the back and handed her a message. Mrs. Penworth had made her capital L in Laila's name extra loopy. Dear Laila, I enjoyed your lovely poem about Ramadan. I'm impressed that you're fasting. What a special time for you. You and your family must be thrilled. Would you share your poem with the class today after lunch? You could go to the library this month instead of the cafeteria. Mrs. Carmen is excited to see you. Sincerely, Mrs. Penworth. P.S. Mrs. Carmen told me you missed your friends. I hope you keep making new friends with our class. Laila twirled all the way to the library. She couldn't wait to share her Ramadan poem with her class. And later, after iftar, if she would celebrate this day. There she is. So again, I wanted to wish a Ramadan Mubarak to all of you who celebrate Ramadan. And even if you don't celebrate Ramadan, there's ways that you can try and celebrate. You could try to eat dinner after sunset. I know it would be late, but I've done it a few times over this e-learning time. You could also try to volunteer, and maybe it wouldn't be volunteering out of your house, but maybe you could volunteer your time to your family members. And again, just make time for your family, and just it's a time to really be together and appreciate each other and just love one another. So I hope you enjoyed this story. Again, this was based on Reem Faruqi's real life experiences when she was a little girl, and I believe it's in our library, so when we do return to school, you can always borrow it from Mrs. Onderjack. So I hope you have a great day, Tigers, and I will see you next time I do a read aloud. Bye.